everyone, Gina here doing my ectopic pregnancy story. I just wanted to share this video purely because when I was going through, and currently am going through, the psychological at the moment with regards to my ectopic pregnancy, I was on YouTube looking for people with very similar stories and I couldn't find one that matched exactly mine, which is understandable because everybody's story and experiences are different. But it allowed me to piece together my story and with using other people's stories to basically come to a conclusion that I'm not alone, which is the biggest thing that I found that affected me the most, was that I felt I was very alone. So I thought I'll do this video because if it matches someone else's story, or it can help put a piece to someone else's story, or to let them know or let you know that you're not alone, then I've won basically. I'm on a winner, because that's the whole reason I'm doing this video, is purely because I don't want anyone to think or feel that they're alone going through this. So basically I'll just jump straight in with a few disclaimers. The first one is I am lucky that I do have a son already, and he was a textbook perfect pregnancy, and by no means I'm not bragging here because I have had a lot of problems since. But yeah, he was what I would call, I literally was on the pill, came off the pill, had a natural period, fell pregnant. I did have a few problems with that pregnancy towards the end, but that is a different story for another day. So I was trying to fall pregnant since January last year, 2016, and I thought it would be fairly smooth going considering I knew my ovulation date, but I didn't want to put any pressure on actually falling pregnant. So me and my partner, we just basically baby danced as and when we fancied it. I then fell pregnant in October, which seemed like a long time for me to fall pregnant considering my previous pregnancy, and I was over the moon, and I told quite a few close family and friends, and when I say a few, my family, I've got 5 sisters, so it's quite a big family. So basically I told my close family and friends that I was pregnant, and more for me, and that was at 5 weeks. And then at 6 weeks I then started spotting, which is really unusual for me going by my first pregnancy. And up until that point of spotting, which was 6 weeks, I had symptoms of pregnancy such as tender boobs, and I felt a little nausea in between meals. So I couldn't go from breakfast to lunch, I would have to snack between that time. The moment I started spotting, most of those symptoms really died down. So I just assumed I was miscarrying, and I was very embarrassed, having to text my family and friends to say, look, I'm miscarrying, purely because I should have waited until I was 12 weeks. And I did feel really embarrassed, and the way I cope with things is I like to close off. So I told everyone I was miscarrying, and I told everyone not to bother me about it, basically, because I just felt so ashamed. I then bled, sorry this is a bit TMI, for 5 to 6 days, and I thought I had passed baby. I then did a pregnancy test after I had stopped bleeding, and it said I was positive. I then went to my doctors, and I had a referral to the early pregnancy unit, or a scan. I then had a scan, so I started spotting at 6 weeks, which was on the 11th of November, and I had a scan on, sorry I've got my diary here, on the 24th of November. In between that time I was doing pregnancy tests and they were still coming up positive. I had a scan, unfortunately it was an internal, but it wasn't painful or anything, and they scanned my left ovary and my left tube and my uterus, and they said the lining was thin, which meant I had passed everything, and they were all given the all clear. They then tried to look for my right fallopian tube and my right ovary, and they couldn't find it. But that could have been because I had something else in my system, in my bowels. So they just said, look, just do another pregnancy test on the Monday, so this was Thursday, wait until Monday and hope that it's a negative. Because I had thought maybe I'd passed a twin up until that point, but I was given that there was no pregnancy in my uterus, and at current stage I was called a pregnancy of unknown location. On Monday I was back at work after having a week's annual leave, and I thought, I'm not doing a pregnancy test on Monday, I'll do it on the Tuesday when I'm off. I did a pregnancy test on the Tuesday and it was positive. I then was quite agitated, and I was looking up on the internet about where could this pregnancy be, and I was quite paranoid that it would be an ectopic. And because we hadn't seen my right fallopian tube or my right ovary, I was very paranoid that something might be there. So I was very much like, why is no one bothered about my right? And they kept asking me, have I got any pain in my shoulder tip? They call it shoulder tip pain. Or any abdominal pain. I had nothing. The only thing I had was a dull ache on my right side, which now, we'll get to this bit, I think was psychological. So I had blood tests then done on the, positive blood test done on the Tuesday. That day I had a blood test, and my results came back, and I've got them written down, which was 1,228, so that was on the 29th of November. I then done another blood test 48 hours later, on the 1st of December, and my results came back at 1,315, so they hadn't doubled, but something was growing unhealthily. So I was then scanned on the 2nd of December, again, just to see maybe, because it would have been too early. By this point I'm now 8 weeks pregnant, and they scanned me again internally, and they found my right fallopian tube, and that was completely empty and clear. They then went back to scan my left side, and that's where they found baby. It had a heartbeat and everything, and I call it Snowflake purely because it was winter, pure as snow, and like snow, 1 minute it's there, next minute it's gone. So I then was kept in overnight. Luckily I had already prepared myself for an overnight bag. They kept me in the Friday night to have surgery that night, or I'd have it the next day. Still no pain, still none the wiser. Obviously I'm saying it was psychological, the dull ache to my right side when everything was on my left. And I was classed as a missed ectopic, which I'm not angry about. These things happen, we're all human, but I am very hot on my right side because I only have one side left. The other thing I'd before I get into the surgery kind of thing, is when I'm talking about this, the way I cope with it, if it appears I have no emotion about it, is that I put everything in a box and I do what needs to happen, as in the actions, e.g. I'm pregnant, I need to have surgery, get it removed, then go through recovery, then try again. That's my goal, I'm going to do it. Everything else, store it away. And then when I do talk about it, it's as if I'm getting a box and I'm just talking about the contents on the box, which is separate to actually what's my feelings are inside. Otherwise I'd be crying and everything. So I then had to wait until 7 o'clock on the Saturday, the 2nd of December, to have my surgery. And they did say that they would check my right tube to check it was okay, and then they would try, if it wasn't, they would try and salvage my left tube. If it was okay, they were just going to go straight away and remove my left tube, sorry. As it so happens, whilst they were in, which I had keyhole surgery, so I have an inch scar where your hairline begins in the centre, and I have a centimetre scar slightly to the left, and they went in through my belly button. Surgery, they said my right tube was fine, and they literally just took my left tube. I came round okay. I had a little nausea, but I wasn't sick, and I was very tender in my lower abdomen, and they fill you up with air so they can work better whilst they're inside you. So that was really the most uncomfortable thing at the moment, was because I felt like I had trapped wind, and I walked around the hospital just to alleviate that. I then came home the next day, so I had surgery at 7 o'clock at night. Come Sunday, I was discharged at lunchtime. I came home and I had to keep cleaning my wounds and hope that they would be fine. The recovery process took a lot longer because unfortunately I got an infection in my belly button. Don't like belly buttons as they go, so this was quite embarrassing and uncomfortable and disgusting, really. I just had to clean my wounds, especially my belly button, twice, maybe 3 times a day. And I had overgranulation in my belly button, which is where they cut me and stitched me up, the skin just kept on growing, so I had to have that burnt away twice. But other than that, the only discomfort I had was when I would stand up. If I had jeans on, it would pull on my belly button, which was really uncomfortable, and just the fact that I had to have clean my belly button quite a few times, which obviously was quite tender. Other than that, recovery was fairly straightforward. I was back at work within 2 weeks of my surgery. I've got a child, so I was still doing everything I needed to do. The only thing I really couldn't do was hoovering, purely because of the bending motion, and if I had any clothes that were restricted, that would become a bit difficult. So basically that was my ectopic pregnancy story. I will go into some miscarriages after this, purely because I think it does matter, because the emotions from my ectopic really became paramount, that I hadn't actually dealt with my ectopic because I just put it in a box and threw it at the back of my mind, was when I fell pregnant in February and I miscarried. I think they call it a chemical miscarry. I was 3 days late, but I'd done a pregnancy test which showed I was pregnant, and then I miscarried. And I had a scan because the early pregnancy unit are really hot with that, and I'm very much on it because I only have one fallopian tube left. But the emotions that brought up, sorry, it's really hot. The emotions that brought up when I found out I was pregnant were intense. I thought I had dealt with my ectopic, I'd moved on, got through the surgery, carried on, and I still had a goal I wanted to achieve, so I was still trying for a baby. I think I miscarried purely because I was trying too soon and I didn't give my body enough time to recover. So I wasn't really that bothered by my ectopic, by my miscarriage, purely because I knew I could fall pregnant. That was my saving grace, but I am very pessimistic, which isn't very good. That's a bit of a downfall for me. But with the support around me, they got me through that, which was fine. But with that miscarry, all the emotions of why is my body failing? What happens if it's in my right tube? Please don't fail me now, kind of thing. Am I going to lose my right tube? Am I having another ectopic pregnancy? If that happens, I'm going to lose all of my fertility. All of these emotions just floored me. And then I miscarried. But naturally I miscarried, so I didn't need to have any intervention or anything for that. I then gave myself a 2-month break because I'm really good with my ovulation and my period, so I can kind of track it very well. And I kind of I'm probably 95% sure know my pattern, so I do 1 month my left, 1 month my right, 1 month my left, 1 month my right. And it just so happens that the 4 times I actually tried on my ovulation day, I fell pregnant twice, which was my ectopic and now my miscarry. And previous to that, it was my son. And recently I've gone through another miscarry and I was really worried again. It was another ectopic. But it's kind of made me get a little bit more stronger in terms of knowing I can come through this. I do have an Instagram account, which is ttc.scared.butdoingitanyway, but doing it anyway. And I found that has been a really great help to me. It's a very good outlet because I don't like to show my inner emotions to anybody. That's just something I carry around with me, and I actually have sought counselling because I don't process everything that I've got going on, because I have had quite a troubled past, really. But that's another story for another day. Sorry this has gone on a little bit too long. I'm very mindful that it's now becoming 15 minutes, I think. But yes, I just wanted to share my story out there with anyone that might have experienced maybe a section of what I've gone through. But my fundamental reason to doing this video was purely because I don't want anyone to feel that they are alone, like I did. And the other thing I will also mention very, very briefly is I was at the same time surrounded by 5 pregnant friends. Some were family relatives, and some were extended friends, all with their second child, all trying at the same time for a second child, and some with their first child. And that emotion of having to deal with that can be difficult as well. I'm one of these people who like to put everyone else first before me, because I don't really count, but at the same time I would have that fight within me saying, well, what about me as well? So I just want to say that no matter what you're feeling, whether you feel it's bad or negative towards anyone else or towards yourself, they're normal feelings, and you will come out from this, and you are not alone. That is the main thing I want to hammer home, is that you're not alone. If I could give everyone a hug that's gone through this or going through this, because I'm still, even though I'm over it, as in the surgery and the recovery, the mental is something I will still carry with me. But yeah, I will keep you updated, hopefully, if there's anything else I want to touch base on. I don't mind doing a pregnancy video with regards to my son, or any other emotions about how I've been coping with it, etc., then just leave a message down below, and I will try and do a video for that. Also, I might try and do some fun videos with my son. So yeah, thank you for listening. Sorry for waffling and anything else that I might have done wrong in this video. And please remember, you're not alone. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.